So, my name is James McLachlan. I'm the editor of Icon magazine, and I'm here at the Moroso showroom with Doshi Levien, who are celebrating 10 years of their relationship with the brand. So maybe you could tell me, guys, about the first project you collaborated with Moroso on.
The first project that we did with Moroso was the Charpoy collection in 2007. And it was following a trip by Patrizia Moroso to our studio, and this was in February 2007. And she said, right, we're doing this project for Milan. That meant, of course, I had to go off to India and work with the master crafts people to make 4 different designs of the Charpoy collection, which had this game embroidered in the middle of it, referencing the Indian epic Mahabharata, where there's a war because 2 families play this game against each other. And I think it was really quite incredible, the response these pieces got in Italy at Salone, because of course it was combining Indian hand craftsmanship with Italy's industrial craftsmanship, because the bases were made in Italy. And I think to see that level of craftsmanship in the context of Salone was very new. And that really started our relationship with Moroso. And of course, since then we've worked on the beautiful backside sofa, the paper planes chair, and Armada Modernista sofa, which we launched this year. And I think our projects with Moroso reflect the plurality of Moroso as well. Moroso doesn't have a fixed, defined style, so to speak. I think we constantly feel challenged working with Moroso because of that.
I think those projects also reflect the differences between Nipa and I in terms of our design approaches. There's always this kind of need to reconcile our individual approaches to design, because really we have quite individual ways of working. My way of working is really, I'm engaged with making, and I've always been a maker. Since I was 16 I did cabinet making, going on to study design. But making is still very much an important part of my process. So if you look at pieces like paper planes, impossible wood, I'm really exploring how materials have their own language, and through kind of mastering and understanding the properties of those materials, whether it's wood or whether it's metal or card even, they can sort of give us something back, and then for us it's a question of recording that, capturing that kind of natural gesture of materials, putting that into design. And I think for me that's something that contributes to the longevity of a design, if it feels natural and comfortable with itself, but yet it can still be quite radical.
And you mentioned earlier, Jonathan, that some of the earlier pieces were a kind of explosion of ideas, and there were lots of kind of ideas going on in these pieces. I wondered if now looking at all the work, sort of these key pieces in one place, you can sort of understand yourselves a bit more about how your own design languages evolve.
Well, I think in the first pieces, you have to think that when we started out as a studio, we had one client, which was Moroso, essentially. We had some other things happening. Right. But so all of that creativity that we wanted to invest in our work was going, into these single projects that we were doing. And so if you look at my beautiful backside, for example, there's a huge amount of kind of exploration in terms of bringing materials together. You have wood leg meets a brass turned leg meets textile, which is designed by Giulia Rodolfo for Quadra, but then printed on by us with gold, and then molded buttons on the back and double piping. There was so much going on, and yet it works. It's a symphony of details and materials, and fantastic. Now I would say that we're more sparing with our ideas. I would say that we recognize the need to kind of maybe have 1 or 2 sort of big ideas within a project, and then make those ideas go a bit further.
And the latest piece, the Modernista piece, is kind of, I suppose, someone looking at your portfolio would say this is uncharacteristically restrained.
Yes, that's not Doshi Levien.
I think it also reflects the kind of architecture we are interested in, and I think that modern architecture, especially the architecture of Corbusier, Louis Kahn, was very much a part of my upbringing as well, growing up in India. And the education I had was very Bauhaus and very form follows function. And I think that there is that, I would say that there is 2 sides also to our personality and the things we like, and one doesn't exclude the other. And I think that if you look at Modernista, it's a very architectural piece. It has very little form when you first look at it. But I think Modernista sofa is very much about, I would say, tropical modernism, where you had these incredible houses like the Casa Modernista in Sao Paulo, for example, the Villa Sarbai in Ahmedabad in India, where you had these pieces which were incredibly restrained, but were also beautifully detailed. So I think we really tried to bring that sense of sartorial detail into the Modernista sofa. So if you look at it closely, you can see the way the fabric is seamed, the very subtle proportions, if you see the details of the legs. I think that I see the Modernista sofa that, although it's very architectural, I think the more you look at it, the more details you will discover.
Well, thanks very much to Doshi Levien. It's been a really exhausting 3 days at Clerkenwell. And this is Icon and Doshi Levien signing off.